right here, and I kicked that. Hey, we are live. My old channel back up. Alan and I sitting here. It's raining in South Texas. Y'all watching the weather or not? I don't know.
They say it's raining all over the world, Tommy.
No, just our world. Just in our world. Yeah, we Kathy got the heads up from the hospital. They've opened up the Baptist Hotel for workers. They're afraid people are going to get stuck at work, so they got rooms for them. Kathy took extra clothes and stuff in with her this morning. She took my truck. I walked outside this morning in our ditch out in the front. It wasn't even running water yet. And since we've been here, right, Alan, how many times it's rained and that thing's just flowing with water.
When we first got here, it rained like this, and I had to, empty my dehumidifier twice in the last 2 days, and that was just like the peak of summer when it was so humid here.
Right. It was saturated, and we hadn't had rain here for a week and a half. Hadn't had any, so it was drying up pretty good. But that was my indicator this morning. I got up and I walked out to the ditch and looked at the ditch, and it's not running yet. So for me, right now, right here, we're okay. We're not bad.
And how many miles are you from Houston?
Like 60 miles. We're 60 to 70 miles from Houston, the edge of it anyway. But Houston is below sea level. It's like New Orleans. It's like New Orleans. Half of it, closer to the coast is below sea level. If you saw all those old pictures, when I worked in Galveston, you come across that causeway. When you get across that causeway, it's below sea level. And I recognized it all because it was just flooded from there all the way into Houston till you got to the big, what do you call them? The loops around Houston, all those highways and stuff. And they were coming up out of the waters. And I was like, that's not a surprise. It's not a surprise at all. If you've ever driven around Houston, unless you're up on one of those highways, man, you're low. You're real low. In Galveston, when I worked out there, a normal rain, just a normal any day rain would flood that town. There'd be places in that town where it was up to your car door, because everything just flowed to this one place, and it happened to be right by the hospital. And they were building a new hospital behind it up higher, because in the last hurricanes, that hospital flooded. The guys took me down in the basement and showed me, you see on the pillars how high the water had got in the basement of that hospital. And that's not good. The hospital had been there a long time, no matter how many times that sucker flooded.
I like it when towns do that, when they mark the high water marks on the buildings that are close to the rivers and stuff.
Right.
Should I confess that I was hoping that as long as there was going to be a hurricane, I wanted it to tip over the SpaceX rocket in Houston? I think they took it down or took it inside because their live stream doesn't show it out there by their towers.
Well, yeah.
Or they deflated it.
Well, yeah, they deflated it because remember their whole deal about the little creeper that carries it? It takes like 8 hours to get it out there. It just creep to get it there. I don't think they jumped out there and put it in gear and went, let's go, fellas, put it up. Let's go. Yeah, they just deflated it. They just let the air out of it and rolled it up, like a tarp. Do it in the back of the pickup. I'll put it out again tomorrow. But I was telling Alan about the SpaceX. A guy put out a video yesterday where he busted them. He busted them back in February. They had a live feed and all this, and he had saved the video. And the next day he watched the video on YouTube again, same video, and they had edited. They had edited live. And engineer guy was like, this is just for an engineer, man. This just tickles my brain. I love to see this, the precision of the engines and the simultaneous feed. It's just perfect. And so the guy watches that. It ain't perfect. It's the same camera, just split into screen. And they went back and took one out and put a different angle in. So it didn't look like, wait, that's the same. That's the same. No, they fixed that. This guy lost his shit, man. He was going through the YouTube rules and stuff about editing and all this stuff. And they have a rule in there. If you've had over 100,000 views on your live streams, you can't do anything to that video. Otherwise, you can clip front and clip backs, but you cannot edit. And they clearly edited it. He was mad. He's like, what's going on here? Why do they get to do that? What else are they lying to us about? You see all these live feeds. Is it really live? Is it? And he was, man, upset.
Is it live or is it Memorex? That's what they used to say in the 70s to sell that
here.
stuff.
What's up? Slap shot.
How you doing, big guy?
Scotty, rain's coming your way.
Rain's coming to bed. If the rain is actually going to New Orleans again.
Yeah. No, well, their tracker that they show it shows that the eye is going to come straight across Beaumont, right across us, right across Lake Charles, and straight over to New Orleans. But we know how storms are.
They'll do what they want.
They can go unless they're steering it, unless they're using their EMFs and their seeding. We know they can do that. We know they can steer them. I don't know. I think I have some pictures. I'm gonna have to pull them up of West Texas where it had to have been like an EMF something, because the clouds, the way they looked going across, it almost looked like sand on a seashore where it was ripples, going all the way across the sky. And you're like, there ain't even hardly any wind. I've always been told wind makes it look that way. That was weird. It was weird. It was like they were pushing these storms. And it was weird. Look that up. You can see it where you see those ripples in the clouds, which isn't natural.
Well, this storm's not natural. I never saw it develop an eye wall.
They keep saying, right here's the eye, but you can't really see nothing.
It's like a one side. It's like the storm is on one side.
And everything else is over there.
Right.
Yeah, if you hadn't seen it, I bet we can pull it up here. Look what I've been watching. I've been watching all those episodes. I know they got a live feed here. We'll throw up.
Little Hector said to seeing that baby lamb.
That's one of the things I can't stand is those little boxes that keep playing the video when you're done with it.
Right. Where is the storm feed? I got it on.
You might have just seen one.
Where? That's weird. Why ain't it there?
We just had a flash flood watch or alert hit our cell phones in the Beaumont area where Kathy Gartman just drove into the storm, and if you're just joining us, she took an extra bag and drove Alex, Tommy's daughter, into work today. So she's taken as safe as vehicle as she can get. And she is going to be, possibly stuck there, but we don't know. The track of the storm is going just to the north of Beaumont, and they always say, now that I've followed Hurricane Ida and now this one, that the right side of the storm is the worst place to be.
That's what they always say. Let's do a little share. This is what they're saying, and we
we
are right about here.
We are not afraid.
Lake Charles is 40 miles from us, 30 miles, and Beaumont Beaumont is 28 miles. So we're right here in the center on this side of the Texas line. And this is what they're showing us. And what's funny, like Alan said, they keep saying right down here is the eye, but it doesn't really look like an eye. There's a little bit of turning there, but it's not what you would really call an eye. I don't think. Y'all see that right here? A little bit of turn, but this. I'm sorry, I've lived in Texas a long time, and that doesn't look like much of a storm to us. and it's moving pretty quick. You know, it's moving. I think they said 10 to 15 miles an hour. So there's your weather watch for today. We 2 on Earth. Hey, what's up? Where's it? I know Scotty's safe. Where's 2 on Earth at? Where you bees?
If you're in Texas, you better be in north. You don't want to be on the coastline. That's where it is.
Yeah, last night, Kathy and I were talking, and I was like, well, baby, you got your wish. You always wanted to live near the coast, near the ocean. You got it, baby. And she's like, nope, not anymore. I want to live by a lake now. I'll take a lake. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm looking for some news here to play, Alan. What do you think?
I think the news is that if you should want to live by a lake too.
Oh, this guy was good, man. Let's watch this real quick. He came on last night during the game after, and I told my wife, it's crazy. Last night in the football game, and it always happens this way. The announcers are talking about this running back. Well, they picked up this guy. He went to little so-and-so nobody state, and he was undrafted, and he'd been in camp, and their star running back got hurt last week in practice. And they're like, hey, bud, you got to step up, man. And they're all, you can do it. You can do it. Well, he gets in the game, and when 35-yard touchdown, just like that. As soon as they said it, boom, nobody touches him. Touchdown, they're like, "Rawr." And as soon as that happened, I saw on my phone, Gematria Effect guy popped up. He does all the sports, and he's like, I told you guys number 34. Baltimore's 34 in Gematria. The date of the game is the 34th prime. This guy's number is 34. He said, I told y'all this was gonna happen. And now here's a new one about an injury. And he says some are fake and some are real. Let's see. I think this one's probably going to be a fake one.
Walter Payton was number 34.
Yes, he was.
But how did Emmitt Smith ever pass him up? He's not number 34, quickly. Man. I don't get it. Oh, that's the star going out?
Monday Night Football. Run your Gematria, people. Monday Night Football 93, Gruden 93. So many of these are just rituals. People definitely get hurt on the football field, but they have a lot of fake injuries by the numbers. Remember, the Baltimore Ravens are named after the poem The Raven, which equals 93. And right after that, there it is right there, just like that. Right after that, the Ravens going for a touchdown.
You ever get a touchdown like that, Tommy?
And notice the score again was tied up 17-17 before this. I uploaded the video earlier about 34 tonight. It's 13/9, like 139 the 34th prime. Ravens equals 34. Nevada 34. Ravens in both their Super Bowls scored 34 points. Again, every NFL game scripted this way, you guys. Tonight on Gematria Effect News, 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. That's 1 in the morning Eastern. Sorry, East Coast people on the West Coast. I'll be going live, and I'll be talking about the major ritual and how this game today on the 25-year anniversary of Tupac, who died at age 25 in Las Vegas, how much this game has to do with old Tupac, who moved to Baltimore when he was 13 and who became so influenced as a hip-hop artist in Oakland, of course, where the Raiders are really associated with. Today's infamous day. Talk a lot more about it tonight. See you in a bit, True Seeker.
Yeah, so this guy does a good job on all the on the sports and the Gematria stuff. He had said, talked about how Aaron Rodgers was going to lose so bad to New Orleans the other day because it was going to be, what was it going to be? I forget the numbers. The Chicago and the Cincinnati Bengals game was the Chicago's 39th win over the Bengals, and it was Andy Dalton's 39th loss. And, I mean, all these numbers just boom, 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 boom popped in. And same with New Orleans and Aaron Rodgers. And all these numbers, it was like the guy was saying, there's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to win. They're not going to win because these numbers all line up. And they got their ass handed to them. It was bad.
He's benched.
And Aaron Rodgers, they all looked after the game. Kathy saw his interview, and she's like, "What the hell's wrong with him? What did he do to his hair and stuff? He's got the man bun now. He's pulled his hair back in a man bun. He's all scruffy." And
Who did that?
Aaron Rodgers.
Really?
Yeah, he looks like a Seattle guy now, man. Put a flannel shirt on him, and you can be a indie.
Now here's something. You ever heard of this guy Drake?
Yeah.
The singer? I had not. I don't think I've ever heard of one of his songs, and I found out that he's done something that hasn't been done since the Beatles, and he's got all 5 top songs in the
right
on the. And it's like, what in the? How good can one guy be?
What do you do, right? I mean, he's not a household name, well, as far as households I know, but like you say, he's got all these records, and it's like, what? You think of somebody like that, it'd be, everybody know about it, but not so much. They just do this stuff on the sly. It's all a ritual. Like the gematria guy said, all this stuff are rituals, especially pro sports, the movies. Oh, there's a new movie coming out, or a new TV show coming out. Think about this. It's just named Evil. And
streaming on Netflix, everybody.
Yeah, and it's all about, evil people and, their life. It's like, really?
Welcome, Stu.
Stu's here. I ain't seen Stu in a while. Yeah, my channel's just back up. The other day, I tried to stream on it. I don't know why. I couldn't stream on it the other day. It was like, wait a minute. Well, that gematria dude, he swears that all the top people in like pro sports, the owners, general managers and stuff, and a lot of times the head coaches, and then just a handful of the players know the script. They know what's going to happen. They know what's supposed to happen. And if you look back over history in baseball, football, it doesn't matter, basketball, there's always in these tight games, championship games, different things, one of the stars always has a flub. He always has the quarterback throws an interception at the wrong time. Running back fumbles, at the worst time. They get a penalty at the worst time. And everybody, we're sitting there at home going, no. But it's all scripted. Nothing we can do about it. Did you overrun your coffee?
Yeah.
Alan? Good Lord. What am I going to do with you?
I don't know. Buy more cookies.
Buy you books, send you to school, and you eat them.
I made spit wads, man.
But the weather is coming at us. I can see out the window there. The wind has picked up. Definitely the wind has picked up. We decided to do a live stream right now because we more than likely will lose power. Since I moved into this house, we've lost power, what, Alan, 5-6 times?
At least.
Out in West Texas in 30 years, in the worst storms, the worst weather, I never lost power this much.
Oh, tell us about the one time you looked it up, and there was only 20 people that still had power out, and we were one of them.
Right. You get a deal, an alert, and we looked it up, and it was like it showed a grid, and it said all these people without power, and there was like our street, and halfway around our street, about 20 houses didn't have power. But then all the other times, it was just our street that didn't have power, and everybody else did. So UNR2's in Middle Tennessee.
Nice. That's a good place to be.
I worked in Clarksville, Tennessee for a while, right there on the border of North Carolina.
Two of the power outages here were planned, so hopefully
for maintenance, right?
that it worked, and it's going to be a more robust power grid. It'd be funny if it lasted. I was surprised, but this storm it has slowed down, changed courses, and I really thought I'd wake up to no power, or that would wake me up, but I was surprised. Got up at 5:30, the power was still working. And
Easy Water, have you heard of Easy Water? I've heard of it. I don't know what it is, really. I've heard of it.
Is that one of those things like a smart water thing? But anything we can do with water, anything you can do to get good water in your system, non-GMO food in your system. Tommy bought a new masticating machine that is different than a food processor. It doesn't chop. I don't know the specifics, Tommy, but
no, it's one of it's old technology, but we finally discovered it again. I read a whole deal on this that we discovered that if you mash fruit and you don't chop it with blades and you don't crush it, with like some of those juicers do, they crush. And if you just squeeze it, and they use an auger. If you squeeze it, you get all the vitamins out and all the enzymes, and they're alive. They're still alive. It's a live product. And when you drink it, it's way better for you, way better than the other stuff, because blades and the crushing deals, they destroy enzymes. They destroy, the cell wall of all the nutrients. And so these masticating ones work really well, and tastes great, doesn't it? I mean, it makes good juice.
It is delicious.
And there's no pulp in it at all. I went to the store the other day and bought apples and oranges and carrots and watermelon and stuff. I made myself a watermelon one yesterday. That was good. I need some vodka. But with that, that was good, man. It's hard to beat. But it's a cool machine, and it wasn't that expensive when I first started looking at them. Cheapest one I could find was $400. This one was like, I think, $180 maybe. It works well. If you if you want to get real stuff, these are the only ones. They've proven, I guess you'd say it again, I hate using that word, scientifically. I hate using that word, but they've proven scientifically that this is the best way to do your juice.
Welcome, Luther the Truther. Good to see you, brother.
They found water as a bore state. It can be a solid. Yeah, I'd heard that.
Now, here's something I picked up last night. Was watching about a lecture from a person about, how come there's no locust plagues in the United States anymore?
Nothing for them to eat.
Locusts only eat healthy plants.
Yeah, right. They won't eat GMO.
They won't eat GMO. They won't eat anything else.
That makes sense.
And
it makes sense that they come along and sniff and go, dude, what is that? This doesn't seem right. This leaf, they
won't eat it,
man. It's not right. Yeah, dude, let's move on. This is crap. Yeah, Bob ate some of this, made him sicker than hell. Move on. This is nasty stuff.
Which is when they said that when the United States had its influx of, and even, any historical narrative is going to say, that in the 1840s, they started bringing whole towns from Germany here, right, and whole towns from everywhere else. And they brought really good seeds, really good soils, and the locusts ate everything.
And they ate everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, I remember what it had been. Maybe 10 years ago, that huge infestation in Las Vegas. Remember that? You couldn't even see the street lights. The locusts were so thick. And we had just left Bullhead City. It's about 70 miles from Vegas. And it was all over the news. And we were down 70 miles away and we didn't have that problem. But man, in Vegas, it was a mess. Look it up. The locusts in Las Vegas. It was crazy.
When was that?
It's maybe 10 years ago. Maybe. I can't remember exactly, but I remember it was nasty. It was so bad. They were just everywhere. You couldn't walk outside. There were people walking outside, and they had bandanas on their face and glasses on, and they're like, "Man, this is crazy. You can't see where you're going. It's so thick." And there's no vegetation out in Vegas. I mean, the golf courses. It's about
maybe they were one of those cicada types that only come out every 17 years and just came out and looked around going like, where's all the food?
Good job. That was crazy, man. They ate that. It was nuts. Kathy has a friend in Vegas, and she was afraid they were gonna eat her. Too bad they didn't, Joni.
Shockingly, the non-GMO soybean went away in 1993. Monsanto came out with the genetically modified soybean, and by 1996, a beetle, I forget the name of it, but it's called it's the soybean beetle. That plagues their crops now, and why you have to use glyphosate. It made its appearance within 3 years. So since 1999 is when they really had to pump up the glyphosates, the fertilizers, and even though they can make the food turn green, that doesn't mean that it's a healthy food.
Right. Oh, and speaking of, we were talking about this last night. Where is that short one we watched? Did they take it down? Oh, right here it is. Let's show this real quick. This was real good.
You're gonna like this.
This has got Fauci, the big dog.
Might as well, now that Tommy's back on the air, we might as well see if we can make it go away in one day.
To add to this, as I showed you here, they're going for the kids, right? They don't have enough data, but yet they're still trying to get 5 to 11 now. And of course, their goal ultimately is to get it in the newborn schedule. That's where it eventually will be, the universal inoculation. The one Pfizer is talking about, they're going to make some magic potion one-stop shot. The universal inoculation that Slouchy referred to back in 2009. This is why influenza has been equated to CV19, or at least we understand that the tests can't tell the difference, because from the gate, it's always been about this flu.
Crisis issue when you get to have a pandemic flu, which we know will again occur as was predicted, even though they're rare events, they do occur, is to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And what we foresee in the future is that influenza vaccine will be something that is essentially a routine vaccination for everyone. And if we then transition that into the universal vaccine, then you may only have to do that every couple of years, and get the vaccine will be something that is essentially a routine vaccination for everyone. And if we then transition that into the universal vaccine, then you may only have to do that every couple of years and get people protected not only from seasonal flu, but from pandemic flu. In my mind, that's the end game. And that's good for the companies too, because they're going to know and predict that every year, the vast majority of the American population is going to get vaccinated, not having to guess, will they or will they not?
This very complicated, lot of moving parts. But if we look at what has been said in the past, look at how things have developed. Clearly, this is about some type of universal inoculation system that would allow the biosecurity state and power to literally control everybody from the inside out.
Oh,
makes a lot of sense. So with this being said, I mean, we also can look at some recent study here about children and suicide. Now, not only are we attacking children internally through trying to get them all to take in this experimental juice here, we also have some evidence that young people today have been hit with a type of psychological suicidal ideation dilemma in response to the pandemic. The conclusions to the study are pretty interesting, man, and it speaks to a lot of the things we've been saying as far as the trauma-based mind control and the trauma sustained by the youth today is paramount, because in response to this, as a result of this short period of highly intense trauma, right, being locked in your room or locked in your home, not being able to congregate, not being able to spend time with friends, mixed with looking at your friends, your family even, those in your own home as potential threats to your safety and health, that's extremely traumatic. And we understand this has all been really blown out of proportion, right? Totally blown out of proportion. If they cared about people, why would they blow it out of proportion like that? Why would they traumatize people so hard with mainstream media the way they do? And look at what has been a response. children don't know, and young people don't know how to deal with this stuff, man. They're still developing. They're developing their identities. They're trying to figure out the world, and the world is caving around them. And everyone around them becomes some type of potential threat. I mean, this is really, really damaging. And so the conclusions and relevance, let's just look at this here. In this cross-sectional study of youth experiencing suicidal thoughts and behaviors, suicide-related presentations to the ED initially decreased during the COVID-19 pandemic, likely owing to shelter-in-place orders. They weren't able to get to the emergency department because they were at home, right? So that messed with the figures. Then we're similar to 2019 levels, which were also high, by the way. We've been seeing this development since 2010, since social media. Basically, since Instagram and all of these things came out, we see skyrocketing statistics for these things. And again, there's statistics, and then there's lies, and et cetera. So we understand the degree to which statistics have to be looked at side-eyed. But anyhow, however, a greater number of female youth with no psychiatric history, and youth with psychiatric diagnosis at the time of the ED encounter presented for suicide-related concerns during the pandemic, suggesting these may be vulnerable groups in need of further interventions. Adjustments and care may be warranted to accommodate these groups during periods of crisis. Now, what are these groups again? These are female youth, okay? Youth with no psychiatric history, that's a big one. Okay, so these would be what we would call neuronormative, I believe, or healthy, normal kids, for lack of a better term, right? So we have female youth with no psychiatric history, so generally healthy psychologically individuals, and youth with psychiatric diagnoses. At the time of the ED encounter presented for suicide-related concerns during the pandemic. So what we see here is that female youth, as a gender group, healthy young people, as well as those with diagnosed psychological or psychiatric issues.
Oh my goodness!
Have shown present higher suicide-related concerns. This is a big deal. This is huge, because what we're looking at is generational or a damaged generation, right? There's going to be a response to.
Look at that right there.
It's terrible.
Go outside and play, kids, by yourself. Don't get near anyone.
I didn't want to step on the video while Noah was talking there, but those people with the gallon jugs on their head.
Right. Well, the little picture of the lady telling the guy, get back, don't touch my dog. I mean, this is crazy. And what he's fixing to come up on here, I think, is the most important thing in this video of what this does, not just to kids, but it's everybody. This is important. And it's important for our interactions as humans. Check this out.
These kids still have to grow. They still have to develop. They still have to, live. Imagine 20 years from now, what we could be dealing with when these kids today are the adults, the young adults, outnumbering. Well, I don't think they will actually outnumber the millennials, actually. But there'll be a large population. Imagine the strife, the conflicts that we're going to be dealing with. That's only one part. So there's the suicide, right? But then there's also the face covering. And I made this here just, to give a little understanding of how I see it. Let me pull these images for you. So this image here represents, I'd say, what many children have experienced over the past year and a half, okay? And they've been trained to be this way by their parents. And of course, many of these parents are innocent, man. They're just trying to do the right thing, okay? They're ignorant. They're afraid, okay? So we're not trying to point fingers and ridicule, right? So we have this image here that represents this idea. But then we get this idea of new abnormal, other as impending threat. Now, I use this image because not only does it visually give you an understanding of the restraints children are undergoing at the moment, but it also provides an opportunity to see how interpersonal relations can be expressed early in life, at school, backpacks, hanging out, going to class, going home, mom picking you up, whatever. This is just a very everyday, basic interaction between children. Now, what you see here is a new abnormal, because not only do they not see each other's faces, which is extremely traumatic for social development, but they also are assuming that they are ill, or they have some type of germ, they have something dangerous on them, so they have to clean themselves. And this creates a type of general OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. My point is this. We will see this generation Alpha right now, and it's part of Generation Z, will be expressing high levels of obsessive compulsive disorder symptoms moving forward. High levels of this, such that we will see very damaged and distorted social engagement between a large portion of a certain generation. How does this distortion of perception interfere with stable social development? So my argument is that this kind of experience for children interferes the perception, right? And it destabilizes social development. This is a time where kids develop their sociality, and when you are apprehensive, when you're subdued, and when you're fearful during probably one of the most important developmental stages in life, you will destroy that development, and you will create a type of distortion as a result. And there's certain places, especially out here, there's certain places all across the West Coast. There's places where kids are always in masks everywhere they go. And you see some of these kids, they're frightened. They're afraid to take it off. It's so sad. I mean, it's so sad. They have no idea the socio-cultural consequences of this. It's coming. Give it some time. This is the interpersonal field, okay? This space between people when we interact. Eye contact.
This is huge right here, guys. This is huge. This is all about your aura, your electrical field, your vibration. They don't want us to interact with each other's vibration. And when they can keep us apart and keep us afraid of each other, man, the psychological damage, like he's saying, you can't gauge it. It won't be known for a decade.
The hearing of the voice. There's an audio aspect of this interpersonal field. There's a visual aspect of this interpersonal field. This is how we relate, right? This field is extremely important. This field has been damaged by way of blocking the face, blocking the ability to hear people speak, as well as distancing us further apart, mixed with all of the germaphobe stuff. This is highly damaging to young and developing children. Interpersonal field is distorted. Premature state of relating is damaged during its development, childhood. A preceding sense of fear and apprehension disrupts natural human relating process. 2021 indoctrinated relating is what I call this. This is a new type of relation, a new type of interpersonal relation between the younger generations today is being experienced in this fashion. It's completely unnatural. The interpersonal dangers and irrationality of people being potential health threats a priori. A priori, people are potential health threats in every given situation. As far as the eyes and thoughts and perceptions of children are concerned, this is how children see everybody. It's so sad. Getting it, just showing you the depth of the effects of trauma in the children, and the effects of trauma from the pandemic, being closed in, isolated, fearful, but also the perception of perceiving and presuming that everyone about you is a potential threat. Extremely damaging. And then we get stuff like this, which just blows my mind. And for anybody in their right mind, they will understand that these people are not for our health. They are not for the children. When you consider all of these things together.
So there's that. And Flat Earth Gal made a good point here. She says, you know, the kids in our area are normal. We're not talking about rural. We're talking about cities. Alan has said forever, it's people in the cities that this is going to happen to. And
the cities are the cauldron and the people are the flesh thereof. I have a question for Tommy when he comes back. The Donald Trump and the reclusive billionaire Howard Hughes, for those people of you old enough to remember him, they were the only ones I ever remember that they had that germ phobia. And oh my goodness, they didn't like to shake hands. But and that was something, you know, that was, you know, oh, he doesn't like to shake hands, you know. But now, you know, how you got it since 2019, you know, the elbow bump, the fist pump. We don't shake hands anymore. You don't know what it's like. And I'll tell you something, you can, and I'm sure Tommy will agree. If you shake hands with the limp fish guy, I don't care what else he says the rest of his life, he's a limp wrister or handshaker.
They've taken that interpersonal reaction and interactions away. Because they know it grounds us. They know it keeps us connected. They've known about frequency for a long time. And if they can disrupt our field in any way, like I told Alan, I'm not sure if it was one of Dave's videos or not, but there's a deal going on talking about the future, and it's got a person, they've got their little robotic hand, and it's like, you know, they can do anything through their chip. And it says, hey, you know, we'll be able to eliminate crime. If somebody does something wrong, you won't have to go arrest them. You won't have to worry about shooting them. You just activate their chip and you paralyze them right where they are. You go peacefully arrest them. And it's like, yeah, that's the lipid nanoparticles, the motors, the nanomotors. I don't know if y'all have seen the stuff about the nanomotors. They're little spiral nanotech. And they can just be programmed. They can be a receiver or they can be a transmitter. I watched the video and they're like, man, we can do anything with this stuff. We can send it in your body. If you got a heart problem, we'll go clean out your arteries. We'll send it into your brain. We'll send it wherever we need to send it, and it'll fix you. Right. Okay. All right. That's all I need. And so many people go, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. It's like the Predator.
But talking about the whole handshakes and stuff, who remembers? And it was in the 80s. Who was the first guy really in entertainment to come out and be a germaphobe? It was Howie Mandel, right? The comedian Howie Mandel. He was Mr. Fist Bump. He started the whole fist bump deal. And I remember the first time they kind of interviewed him, he's like, well, I do that because, you know, really, you know, germs. I don't really, you know, trust anything. And I try not to touch if I can't, if I don't have to. And people are like, oh, well, that's a good idea, the fist bump. That's really good. And so, I mean, they just start putting it in our brain 40 years ago. And like the Howard Hughes deal, you know, he was always that fringe guy. Wow, he was so weird. He was a germaphobe. Wow, what's his problem? And now they're coming around going, see, Howard Hughes was right. You know, germs, they're our problem. But like we showed in the other videos, the Macy conferences, they started all this back then. Going, how are we going to do this? Climate change, germs, yeah, we can do this. We can scare them where they will do whatever we want. Doesn't matter. We can get them so scared of their own breath that they'll cover it. We'll get them to drink sanitizer. Right? My coffee's there.
Drink sanitizers. Now I woke up about 5:30 and I heard for the first time that the police had got a tip and found out that two 12-year-olds had been planning for over a year a back-to-school shooting spree based on Columbine, and that their entire motivation was they were going to kill the bullies.
Oh yeah, they push that bully narrative, man.
But how is that not bully? You just bullied somebody to death, or
that's the mindset. You were bullied, so how do you get back at them? Bully them back. I mean, I don't know. And growing up, there wasn't really bullies. There was assholes, and on the playground when I was a kid, there was a couple of assholes, and I would take care of business for the little guys. He's bullying him. Hey, man, you mess with somebody, mess with me. Or, hey, man, I don't want to mess with you.
But those days are over. Those days are over. Now you see how they have the children been programmed in a different way.
Yeah.
Since 1996, probably, when they, something happened. It wasn't that, I mean.
Well, that was the thing. I never understood. How'd this bullying thing get going? What happened to the people who took up for these kids? Because that was the way it was when I was in school. There wasn't really bullies. If you were a bully, the tougher guys, or I guess the ones that didn't take any crap, would always step in. What are you doing? What are you doing? Leave them alone.
Now that you mention it, I never see it.
Happen.
In the movies, they always have the big bully who runs the school, but that never was a part of my life. Yeah. Nobody ever saw that in reality of a Biff Tannen as a situation.
The quarterback that's, he's forcing his girlfriend to be his girlfriend. She really doesn't want her, but he's forcing her because he's the
You're my girl, and that's it.
And the guy that she does like, he's a wimpy guy. He won't fight back. He's not gonna, I'm not gonna do that. It's such a lie. All of it's a lie. You watch back on those John Landis movies, and who was it? Who was the other guy with 16 Campbells? All those. If you look back at the narrative on that, it's always victim.
John
Hughes. John Hughes. They're always victims, right? Oh, the poor little girl. They forgot her birthday. Right, she just wants, one guy. He's the greatest, and what's his story? He's a rich kid, drives a Porsche. He's the cheerleader's his girlfriend, but he's not happy.
No.
Come on, guys. I never saw that in my life. I don't know anybody that saw that kind of stuff.
He always rescues the poor girl because he chooses to have out of wedlock sex with her, and that's validated. Breakfast Club. That's the perfect example of that,
Right. I'm reading through the chat here, guys. We get going and forget. Glyph. Scotty, are you working today, Scotty? I saw you said you're having to Epsom salt your knee.
He's been in bed. He's been in bed for a while. He had to hurt his knee or something.
No way, man. Hey, just think, Scotty, it won't be long. You can get a robotic knee, dude. Get an implant. You can get an implant now, but it's not smart implant. They're coming.
Scotty doesn't need any more trouble with his legs. He was in permanent braces. He was supposed to live the rest of his life in a wheelchair,
right? And
just struggle along with those braces. But the Lord had a different idea. Hypertension.
Right, Scotty. I speaking of that, a friend of ours back in West Texas, she posted a deal about her little boy who started first grade this year, and about once or twice a week she'll post a picture of, hey, just picked him up from school and he's so happy with his Sonic slush. She's got a picture and he's sitting back there and he's got an iPad in his lap. As soon as he gets in the vehicle, he gets the iPad, and that's it. He doesn't talk to his mother. He doesn't talk to his siblings. He's 6 years old and he gets on the iPad. First thing. And you don't see pictures of that kid without a phone in his hand or an iPad, and he's 6 years old. I mean, that's child abuse. I think.
Is he masked up?
Just child abuse, not in the vehicle. They mask up everywhere else because supposedly her mother, his grandmother, died from CV. Well, she had lupus for 10 years. She had rheumatoid arthritis. Mm-hmm. She had all kinds of health problems, but she died from the other.
Do you have any empirical evidence that there was ever anybody that you could say, like you died in a motorcycle crash, but you were put in that other statistical group. I mean,
well, that lady,
is that just talk or is that real?
No, that CDC lady. Remember, we watched the video where she said, going forward, if you die and you've been diagnosed with CV, then that will be labeled on your death certificate. If you were negative and you died, and someone around you was positive, we'll put you as CV. I mean, it was crazy. She was basically saying, we're pretty much, if you had a positive test at any point and you died during this period, you're going to be labeled a CV death. That was CDC doing a press conference. I remember the black lady, and they're going, excuse me, what are these boundaries? And she said, well, here's the way we're doing it. And it's like, so if you were even around somebody that was positive, and that's where the contact tracing comes. So they'll pull up Bob Jones, who just died, and go, yeah, it's contact tracing. Yeah, he was around 5 people that were positive. He obviously, had it. There's no way he didn't. He might have had a negative test, but we know the test didn't real good.
I can hear the rain picking up outside to where, I've been watching it. I just saw one branch come down across the street in the neighbor's yard, and I just heard the rain pick up on the gutters. So we're I guess by noon, we're going to be like the eye of what used to be this hurricane is going to be going about 10 miles north of where Kathy Gartman is right now. She's in Beaumont. We're in Orange County, Texas, and it's one of the 2 counties besides Houston in this area that already has the flash flood watch out. So we've had what they call a soaking rain overnight, but nothing of what they were showing in Houston yesterday with the, horizontal rains and high winds. We only have had a couple of gusts in the 20s, but nothing at all. It hasn't been hurricane-like here at all.
Right. What's that, Scotty? Whose head's rested on a TV set? Mine? Ain't no TV in here, Scotty.
That's just a window above the thing.
Oh, that's there.
The fan, the ceiling fan from the kitchen makes it look like a flicker rate is what I'm thinking he's seeing there.
Oh, well, we're trying to mesmerize you, Scotty. Watch the flicker rate. Watch the flicker rate.
You're not getting sleepy. You're not getting sleepy.
Right. But it's scary time, guys. We all know that. And like so many of you said in the chat and stuff, if you're saved, if you got, the word in your heart, you're living the narrow path, you're going to be all right. You're going to be fine. As I was telling Alan last 2 days, he was doom and gloom, man. He just knew right now, today, we'd be floating out of here. And I told him, it ain't going to happen. He's like, oh, it is. It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
It's not going to be as bad as all that.
Maybe not right here in this area, but this flood is going to, this is just the start. And this.
Oh, right, Scotty.
You can't trust the models, but the models are taking this thing right back to New Orleans. And New Orleans is about to be punished again.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but rightly so. Oh, last night, speaking of places like New Orleans, I was telling Kathy, I said, I wouldn't doubt if this year that Las Vegas and John Gruden didn't win the Super Bowl. Because what better ritual than Sin City winning the biggest trophy in sports and they'll be able to tout, look at Sin City, we're the best. Because that's what Vegas has always been called, right? Sin City. Why not? It's pretty good time. Why wouldn't they break out that part of the ritual? I don't see any reason they'd avoid it. It's pretty good timing with all this that's going on and the mind control. Boy, that would be a good blow for their side to have Sin City be the champions.
What do we know about the Las Vegas football team now that the John Gruden, the legend, is coaching? Well, that football stadium is built on where the Las Vegas massacre was a few years ago. it's incorporating the world's largest hologram ever as you walk into the stadium. So possible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff. I mean, just that it's built on that location, because that whole thing never made sense about that shooting. What is the official name of that? The Mirage shooting or the
Mirage
it was crazy.
or whatever. But what's crazy about that stadium, and I saw a documentary about it last year, that you can't use cash in there anywhere. You have to, if you don't have a debit card, they have cash machines where you go put cash in it and it'll spit you out a debit card so you can buy stuff, but they don't take cash at any vendor in that stadium.
You swiping it with a bracelet, you gotta have a bracelet or a card?
Either your own debit card or you go to a machine and get one. You have to go get a debit card right there. And if you have the cash, you feed it and it'll spit you out a card. You can't walk up and give them a $20 bill for a hot dog. And my wife last night was her friend in Vegas was talking about the prices there. And like a beer is $20. Think about that. A 16-ounce beer is $20.
Now they must have the tip built in, because I know that the guys, when I used to go see the White Sox like 20 times a year. And those guys that do concessions, they count on tips and everything else. So somehow that's built in,
I guess.
But
there's those kind of prices, man.
Oh, it used to be outrageous that it was $8 for a beer back then.
Right at the NASCAR races, I always take my beer in. They let you bring in your own beer. But if I ever didn't have any, I had to go buy one. It was painful. It was painful.
It is. It makes you feel like a sucker.
And I was like, man, geez, $8 for a beer. Anything else, Alan, you want to hit on?
No, I think
have power.
That's a pretty good test right there.
Hopefully we keep power. Other than that, guys, I guess we're going to sign off. I'm going to go check out the ditch, see how much water we got going. But other than that, got any last words, Alan?
Yeah, nice to see everybody come in. Nice to see Victoria made it. Go back and check the beginning. Nicole, Scotty, Luther, all you people that have been hanging out. Appreciate it so much.
All right, guys. We love y'all. Peace out. We may do another one today if we don't lose power. Take care.